Hello and welcome to Cordial Couture. My name is Judith and today we're going to look at the pattern number 47, which is these brown pants here. It comes from the supplement number 335, which is last winter's supplement. And as I was explaining in my last video where I adjust pant patterns based on the top down, center out, the fabric I will be using is this camel colored fabric. It has a drape like this. On the roll it said for pants. I don't know the composition of the fabric, but it's synthetic. So I'm going to turn the camera and we'll analyze the pattern. So here is the pant pattern. So it's Z for the pants, 47. And this is the approximate fabric quantity for somebody, I think that's 5'6", a standard size. So here we see there's a front fly. She's wearing a belt, which we assume there's belt loops. It looks to be a rather straight leg pair of pants. So let's turn this around and see what we have. I'll just zoom in a bit here. Okay, so the first thing we have here is the belt. So the belt, CA means approximately, so we know that we have to measure our waist circumference and then use that as the measurement. And then here you have to look at the details. You've got the dashed line and the little dot, which means there's a button. So this has to overlap a bit. So it's your waist plus a bit more so that your button can fasten on your pants. It's 8 centimeters high, which means that the actual belt is 4 centimeters because we're folding this in half, and you're going to put interfacing on half of the belt, and this is the straight of grain. If we look at our back leg here, and all this is traced with your hip measurement because these are pants and it's below your waistline. So you've got a dart here in the back, and then the rest is rather straightforward. If you're not using the top down, center out method that I explained in my last video, and I can put the link there, but you'll have to make sure that you measure your crotch here, the back crotch, and then the front crotch here to make sure your crotch length is okay, and all the other measurements for your waist and your tummy as well. So this is just tracing this out. Then you've got the front pant pattern here. A is for front, Z for the pants. These are the straight of grain lines. So it's pretty similar. You've got your pants. It's on a slant here. This is going to be filled in with a pocket that we'll look in a second. You do have a dart here right beside the pocket. You've got straight leg. And again, you've got your front fly that goes out like this. And you have interfacing here, or it means it's going to be, you're going to put your zipper here. And this is the actual crotch, and we'll have a bit of decorative stitching here as well. So if you look at the pocket, and this is the little cross for the pocket that's outside the piece, you're going to trace this as is, the whole pocket like this once, and then you're going to then come from this dot, you're going to put another piece on top and trace the same pocket but omit this part here. Only use the slashed part from this dot to this dot, so you'll have, this is the inside of the pocket, this is the outside of the pocket. And the outside pocket, if you look here, that's what's going to fill this in here. So you'll finish off your hip with your pocket. And the B here is going to hook up to the B there, and the A that's here is going to attach to here. So that's your pocket, and then you have, these are your belt loops. So 5 times, you have to create 5 belt loops, 3 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Again, you're folding this in half. So it's 1.5 centimeters of, and they are on the straight of grain this way. And this is just a design of the back of the pants. So you've got your 2 darts here and your belt loops. So I'm going to, as promised, show you how those magnets work for cutting out the fabric. I'll try those out for the seam allowances, and then we'll construct the garment. So now's the time to test our magnets here. So we have 2 magnets, a green and a yellow one. And it says the green one is for a straight blade and the yellow one is for a sloping blade. So what I've done is from each magnet I've put my black rubber bands to 5/8 of an inch, and these are my scissors here, and they're slanted blades, so I will use the yellow one. So let's test this out. So we'll start with, oh, I have to put it on this side if I'm cutting my pocket here. So we'll line this up, and we're going around a curve. Up a straight line here. I've got it right on the tip of my blade. I guess I have to come back if I'm going this way. Part. Okay, let's take a bit of let's pull this guy out here. It is 5/8 of an inch. This one's a bit more, but I think it works. So I guess these things work if ever you're interested in buying them. So that's it. So I will cut out the rest of my pants and we'll start constructing them. So now that we've cut out our fabric, the first step is to do our darts. So here is the back dart. It's pinned in place. I traced it with a chalk. I've pinned it in place, and here's my dart for my front leg. So you're going to do that for both fronts and both backs. And then we're going to go sew them, and the result is going to look like this. So this is my front dart here, sewn, and this is my back dart here sewn. So once you've sewn all 4 darts, you're going to come and press towards the back. And we'll come back and do the next step, which is the pockets. So this next step is to do the pocket. So this is the front pair of pants, and this is the right side, and here's my pocket lining. So right sides together, we're going to line this up, pin it in place. And what we're going to do then is we're going to sew along a straight line based on our seam allowance all the way down here. That's the next step. So here I did about my line of stitching. I didn't go all the way to the bottom. It's where the angle turns here for the pants, so I stopped there. The next step is to reduce the seam allowance, so I'm just going to cut here like this. Then I'm going to open this up like this, and I'm going to make sure that the seam allowances are like this so that they're facing this way. To press that so it's nice and flat. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a bit here so you see that the seam allowances are facing towards the lining. So the next thing to do is to understitch. So I'm going to sew here, but catching the seam allowance so that this stays, the seam allowance stays on the lining side. So that's the next step. So here's my understitching. I'll just zoom in a bit here. So you'll see that I was careful to catch the seam allowance in the understitching. I'll just zoom back out. So the next step is to take this and fold it. Put my legs straight here. And we're going to iron this so that it stays in place. Just place it like this. And we're going to press, not iron. So iron is the act of gliding it. We're just pressing it in place. Like this. So now that stays nice and flat, so we'll have a pocket like that. And the understitching, what it does is it prevents the lining from sticking out, so you're not going to have a pocket that's going to look where your underlining rolls out because you've understitched. So now that we've got that done, we're going to take the other part of our pocket, and you have to make sure you've got the right side. So the right side has to be facing the right side of your pants, like that. Sometimes with the fabric, depending on the fabric, it's tough to distinguish the two. What you're going to do is you're going to pin your other pocket piece to the lining itself. It should match. Pin it all along. There, so it's pinned. What we're going to do is we're going to sew all along here up to here. We don't need to sew on the sides because that'll be caught when we sew our seam allowance here for the pants. And we're going to overlock this next step, and we'll be back for assembling the trouser legs. So here's my finished pocket with the overlock, and I have gray overlock thread. I don't have every single thread color. So the next step is to put your front leg with the just place it properly on the right side up. So this is your front leg like this. And I did end up stitching a bit here on the pocket just to keep things in place, but I didn't overlock that section. So here's my pocket, the proper, nice and flat. So now we're going to take the back leg, put right sides together. Where's the top of this? Here, like this. So front right side, back right side, and we're going to pin along the outside seam like this. Sorry, you have to pin along the outside seam, making sure your pocket is well positioned. So you've got all your stuff lined up. I'm going to make sure my pocket here is lying flat and everything's in place. So make sure you pin that area properly. Here. So you'll keep doing this all the way down the bottom of the outside to the very bottom of your leg. And then you're going to do a similar exercise for the inside seam here of your pants. So just line these up. You line these up here. And you're going to pin all the way down. So pin all, sorry, just got myself. So pin all the way down the front inside seam, pin all the way down the outside seam. Then we're going to do straight stitching all the way along. Then we're going to press the seams open to make sure the seams are well laid in. And then after that you can overlock. So that is for assembling the two pant legs, that is the next step. So here I've sewn the inside seam. I press it open and I finished it with the overlock. I did the same thing for the outside seams here. So this is the pant leg turned inside out, and if you look at it from the right side here, you have your pocket that's sitting here. So what you're going to do is you have the pant leg that's out inside out, you have the pant leg that's the right side in. You're going to put the pant leg with the right side inside the one with that's inside out. You're going to align your middle crotch here, the bottom crotch, and pin that together. You're going to, this is the front here. So this is the fly part. So you're going to just line these up. And you're going to pin up to the fly. Then you're going to do the same thing with the back of the pants. You're going to pin all the way around to the top. Keep going all the way to the top. Then what we're going to do is we're going to sew a straight line all the way around the crotch to the fly. press open, and then finish the seam. So I've sewn the crotch, so you see the whole crotch sewn together here. And while I was ironing or pressing, at the same time, I pressed the 2 fly parts to the back like this. So you have the 2 fly parts that are pressed. So it gives you a reference point. And I've got my zipper, I opened it up, and I've pinned one side along the first fly, putting it as close as possible to the actual fold of the fly, only catching the fly part, not both sides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on my zipper foot. I'm going to sew as close as possible to the zipper teeth all the way around down to here. That's the next step. So here I've sewn my zipper on one side. It looks like this. The next step is to align your zipper and then start pinning the other side. And I'll pin this properly off camera because it's hard to do when we're showing it, but I'm going to line this up and then pin all the way down. And you're going to make sure that your teeth here, which is not right, but if your teeth have to line up to the edge of your other fold, only catching the fly, not the other part of the pants. So you're going to pin this all the way down, making sure your teeth, your fold here lines up with your teeth. And you can move the zipper up, open it and close it to help you pin it in properly. And you're going to sew and finish this off. And the reason why I don't start all the way up top is, don't forget, we have a seam allowance here for our belt. So I don't want the zipper to finish in the belt. I want it to finish just at the belt. And then once you've sewn all that, then there's going to be a difference here. So you're going to come and sew and finish this off here. So I'll go do that and we'll be back. Okay, so I did a couple steps at the same time. So I finished showing the other side of the zipper, and then I did also the sewing line here that goes on the other side, that making sure that you catch the other side of the zipper. In my next pair of pants, I'll do a more detailed video on how to sew the zipper properly. So I did that. I also stitched my pockets in place here in the seam allowance so that they wouldn't, so that they stay in place. And in trying on the pants, I don't know if you remember in my top down center out video, my hip circumference is 116 centimeters, so I chose the 120 to make sure I had enough room for my stomach. And in trying on the pants, it was too big. When I tried on the top down center out, it seemed okay, but in trying on the pants, it was too big, so I did have to increase in the back here my darts on both sides, and then take in more in the middle back here. So I had to make those adjustments, which means that probably the next time I do a pair of pants, I'll start off with either my 116 and just increase on the top, or maybe the 118, but 120 is definitely too big. So my pants are ready like this, and they fit well. I prepared my waistband. So here I have my waistband with half of it with interfacing. I finished my seam allowances. So the next step that we're at now is to take our waistband and pin it, leaving the seam allowance necessary here when we sew. So it's not right on the edge here, just a bit over, and we're going to pin all the way around like this, so around the entire pair of pants. So I'll pin that, and then we're going to come and sew the waistband in. That's the next step. For the belt, the bottom belt part is sewn in place, and I cut the seam allowance. So the next step that I did was I went and I pressed the other end, the seam allowance all the way along like this, so that it stays in place. And the next step is going to be to fold right sides together like this, with your seam allowance, this one's shorter, in place like that. We're going to pin that, and we're going to sew right here at the end of the pants here on this side. And we're going to do the same on this side. We're going to fold them properly. Again, this seam allowance being shorter because it was cut. We're going to pin, and then we're going to come and sew right where the zipper ends here. So those are the two next stitches. So my two ends are sewn, so we have to next cut this might be a little bit long here, cut the corner like this on the top, and then we turn this inside out. Make sure we have a nice corner on both ends, like that. So then you turn your belt like this, your waistband, and then we're going to come and hand sew the inside of the waistband all the way along. So we'll meet up again once our waistband is sewn in. So here I've hand sewn my waistband on the inside. It's all sewn by hand. And at the same time I put in my buttonhole and my buttons, so my waistband is now finished. And I also finished my pant bottoms here by just simply sewing them by hand as well. So the pants are finished, but before I'll go throw them on, I did want to go over something that I explained, I think it was in my last video, that sometimes I tend to have too much fabric here. So I did look online, and the solution is to really take in your inner seam here. So I didn't, so that I could show you, I didn't cut my seam allowances. So you'll see here that I've got all this in terms of the seam allowance. So initially it was sewn here, and I went and added it to here. So I really reduced it quite a bit on both sides, and then on the back here it was too big too, which means that I had taken a size 120 centimeters for my pants because I for my stomach, but probably the next one I'll stick to the 116, which is my actual hip size, and just take in maybe a bit more fabric. So I will go throw these on and we'll see the final result. So those are that's the finished garment. I do like the pants. It's the first pair of pants that really fit well. I just have a few things that are not quite perfect. It's the stitching line around the zipper on the front that I could improve, and then on one of the pockets the lining sort of comes out a bit, but other than that the pants fit really well, and I'm really satisfied with that. So as I said, in the next with using the top down center out, I had used my hip size is 116 centimeters, and I chose the 120. So I'll probably take the 116, which is my actual hip size, and just add a bit more seam allowance on the outer side of that. So that'll be for my next pair of pants. And there's also, what I noticed is my choice of fabric for the pants. So I notice as I wear them that they tend to have a lot of static electricity, and I did put a slip under it for the video, but despite that it still tends to cling. So I'll have to be careful in my next choice of fabric for my other dress pants to make sure that I don't have that kind of issue with the static electricity. Now I said that this year I was going to do outfits, so things that match together. So if I look at my pants here, this is the pants, so I want a top that goes with it. I have this fabric that I've had for a while that goes with it. So if we just look at the fabric a bit more, it's a type of see-through fabric like this, and I'm not quite sure of the quantity I have, but I thought that the top I would make would be in Supplement 336. It's the very first one here, and on the pattern there's a middle seam, which I'll probably not do. I'll just put it on the fold because it's see-through. I don't want a seam right in the front, and I'll probably it's a very sharp neckline, so I'll probably raise the neckline a bit, but other than that, that's what I plan on doing. So as I trace the pattern, if I see I have enough fabric, that will be our next video. If not, I'll use the same fabric, but I'll find another blouse for which I have enough fabric. So again, I thank you very much for watching my video. Thank you for those who have subscribed recently. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. Like my video, and don't hesitate to share it with others. Have a great day.